and welcome back to my channel for another video. In this video, I want to bring up calorie counting and something that may help you to break this very, very destructive habit, because it is. And if you're still calorie counting, then I would highly advise you to make that a priority to overcome this. And I know that for some people in the beginning of their recovery, that's tracking their calories or following some kind of type of meal guide, a recovery meal guide, to help have structure to show you that eating more and more types of foods is good and encouraged. So if you're coming from the diet mindset and you're so used to eating very small portions and only specific types of foods, and calorie counting or tracking your calories to make sure you're eating enough, that can be necessary for some people in the beginning, but then always it's advised to later down the line. The whole goal is to be able to taper off of that, so you don't have to rely on a calorie app or a meal guide to tell you how and what to eat, right? That's the whole point of this, is to be able to get to heal enough that your body and you are in tune enough for your body to be able to guide you with hunger and satiety and all of that. But for some people, this could be the worst thing for them, because they're coming from calorie counting and measuring and calculating and tracking their calories and their macros and going off of a strict meal plan, or just, intermittent fasting, but still trying to hit maximum amount of calories. So like 1,200 calories or 800 calories a day. Like, this is insanity. It's not enough calories. And so if you're counting calories in order to make sure you don't eat past a certain amount, this is the problem. And you can tell it's a problem because after so long of you counting calories and only hitting a maximum and not allowing yourself to go past that, and you're still hungry and you're still thinking about food and you want to eat more and you want to eat this food but you can't have it, and you restrict yourself in that way, this is a problem. And you're going to run into a lot of problems if you haven't already, right? As we've seen a lot, this is what causes problems. With all of that said, if you're the person that's trying to stop this behavior of calorie counting and tracking and, always you don't even have to use any of these apps or meal plans or something. You may have been doing this for so long that you just mentally calculate constantly. You're always thinking okay, well, this food has 60 calories and this one has 140 calories. And, you're always thinking about that, and it's stressing you out, and you can't even be present in your life because you're just thinking about calories and fats and carbs and proteins. And if you eat this, then you're going to gain weight. And if you eat this much in this meal, then you're going to have to cut this amount in the next meal, or tomorrow you're going to have to go run it off, and you have to walk this amount to be able to burn off the calories. And that kind of mental chaos. I mean, that's exhausting. I was there, I get it. So, I know that was a huge pro in my recovery to be able to overcome that. It's so freeing to not have to spend my days counting, tracking, calculating, fearing that I'll gain weight if I eat this food or this amount of food, or if I follow my body, then I'm just going to blow up. All of those fears are gone, and it's so freeing. Just to let you know, if you're thinking that, I could never be free of this, you can. I have faith in you. I'm here with you, and I did it, and I have faith that you can do it as well. If you really want it, you can do it. So one thing out of the many that I could suggest to help you through this, if you're constantly counting calories and tracking and calculating and all of this stuff, or, purging via exercise or purging via throwing up even, I would suggest to remind yourself to take it one day at a time. And I remember this was crucial in my recovery, and I was reminded of it recently by the man Pannion, how powerful just this saying is and how it can help tremendously in recovery. Because too often we're focused on what's going to happen in the future, which causes us to behave currently, right? So we're choosing our actions based off of what's going to happen in the future. For example, right now, if you're counting calories, or you're fearful of calories, or you're fearful of carbs, or you're fearful of fat or whatever, it's typically because you don't want to gain weight tomorrow or next week, right? So you're counting calories now in order to prevent something from happening in the future. So if you take it one day at a time though, you're taking the necessary action of what you need to do right now and what your body is trying to communicate for you to do right now, rather than what you need to be doing for the future. So you bring it back into the present moment of right now, in this moment, in one day, today, not tomorrow, not next week, not 6 months from now. Because a lot of us in recovery, we fear gaining the necessary weight that's going to be very healthy for us in our recovery. So we fear eating now because we fear the weight gain in the future. We fear the timeline of when this is going to happen. We fear letting go of the counting of calories or eating more calories, eating more foods or types of foods, because we fear so badly the weight gain in the future. But if we're one day at a time, like I was saying, and you just focus on what you need right now, despite what's going to happen in the future, then it can help release this pressure, right? Because it can skew the decisions you make if you're always living for the future and you're always fearful of the future, because that fear can come in the way of the decision that you need to make, that your body's trying to tell you to make, that your gut feeling is trying to make you take. But the fear is outweighing that, and therefore you go this way instead of going this way. So you may restrict or you may exercise even though your body's telling you it needs rest, or your body's telling you that it needs this type of food or it needs more food. And you say no because of the fear. So you're not listening to what you actually need today. You're fearing what's going to happen tomorrow, and therefore you're not going to make the most productive decision for your recovery and for your health. Too often we get stuck in, rather than just taking it one day at a time, we get stuck always focusing to the future, and we can get overwhelmed, we can get fearful, we can get doubtful, and all of this stuff clouds our vision, and it clouds the confidence in us or the trust in our bodies, the trust in ourselves that we can even do it, because we're in a place that, we're challenging so much of our beliefs and where we're coming from and what we've been thought to be true, that we just become so overwhelmed that it's ever going to get better, that the overshoot is ever going to go down, that the weight is ever going to redistribute, that we're ever going to accept or be happy with ourselves. It just seems so far-fetched if we look too far in advance, or if we look at the whole grand scheme of things all at once, all the time, then we can get just too overwhelmed, and it can actually cause us to just freeze up or degress, go backwards, relapse, lose faith altogether, because we just feel like we can't do it, like we're not strong enough, because we're trying to take on the burden of the whole rather than just the smaller burden of right now. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. So a lot of us, when we're trying to overcome like this obsession with calorie counting and all of this, typically a lot of people need to just go cold turkey. And even with cold turkey, they're still gonna have that mental calculation. And that's why it's so important to go to takeout or go out to a restaurant or have someone else prepare the meals, so you just have no idea, and it's going to challenge every bone in your body, and that fear and anxiety is probably going to rise because you just have no idea what's in that meal. And that's going to be probably the smartest thing to do at that point, to just completely step into that fear and that anxiety of not knowing, the fear of the unknown. And that's going to help so much the more and more that you do that. But to just remind yourself that that's going to be the healthiest thing for you right now, and that you need to do this if you ever want to break free from this, and remind yourself of your why, that you want a better quality of life beyond the fears and the obsessions and the stress of having to be perfect with your diet, and you know what I mean? And then to continue to focus on what you've gained and not what you've lost. And more often, the more you go on recovery, the list of what you've gained is going to get a lot longer than what you've lost. So taking it one day at a time means that you don't have to figure it out all right now. So worrying about something new and the fear of the unknown, that doesn't solve any problems, right? And just giving it over to something larger than yourself and trusting that it's all going to work out, trusting your body, trusting your gut feeling, trusting that you've tried all of that in the past and it didn't serve you, and it definitely no longer serves you anymore. And this is like the only path to freedom, and it will actually take this burden off of you, and it will actually work out in your favor in the end. So just remember that the more that you stress, the less you progress. So continue progressing by getting rid of these stressful, obsessive behaviors. So the more you let go, the more you trust, the better things will get and the better the outcome will be. Now, it doesn't typically happen on our time, but it always happens on time. So if you're like, this is taking too long, I can't get over these behaviors, I can't get over these fears, just keep going, just keep challenging yourself, and with time, it will happen when the timing's right. When you've learned those specific lessons that keep popping up, keep reoccurring, keep staying in your life, that you haven't learned whatever lesson it needs to be, that needs to be learned from it. But it will happen when you're ready, when you've done the work, when you've kept going, even in those times of doubt, not having faith, but you keep going because you know that this is what you need and to free yourself and to heal yourself. And that's why we may want to know the timeline of things, because we think it's actually going to help us. But sometimes, more often than not, it doesn't help us. It just stresses us out. It becomes too big to even handle if we're trying to tackle it all at once and trying to speed up the process. We're given what we're able to handle. We're not given something in life that we're not capable of handling. So just know that you are capable of this. And just have faith in this and this process. And just remember to take it one day at a time. And just know that it's very common that your appetite fluctuates. It goes up and down. So if you're going off of a set number of calories, that's never gonna know what your body needs on this specific day. There's so many different factors that plays into our appetite, the raise of hunger, the lowering of hunger, the rising of satiety, the lowering of satiety, like our hormones may be fluctuating. We may be earlier on in our recovery and we're facing extreme hunger, or we're still facing extreme hunger even after we've got our period back a year into recovery. Or maybe we just had more stress, or we had more energy exertion that the yesterday or the week before or today, and we're hungrier, and so it's always going to be fluctuating. And a calorie counter app, a meal guide, like a strict set meal guide, someone else, that nothing else external is going to be able to know what your body needs in every given moment on every single day. It's always going to fluctuate. Take it one day at a time with your recovery, and you'll be able to gauge exactly what you need that day. And don't focus on when it's going to stop, when you're going to get over this, when your appetite's going to come down, when your satiety is going to rise again, when you can add back in exercise, when the edema is going to go away, when your weight's going to redistribute, when you're going to finally be recovered. Like, when are these things going to happen? Like, I need a timeline. This is taking too long. And perhaps these are all bombarding you and stressing you out because you're too focused on the future and the outcome rather than the journey in between. And the way to overcome this is to bring yourself back to the present moment and take it one day at a time, and just focus on what you need to do today in order to get you to where you want to be in the future. You know what I mean? So whenever you start to feel yourself drift and just stressing out about the future and stressing out about when this is going to happen and when that's going to happen, breathe and take yourself back into the present moment. Know that it's all going to work out if you just continue to take the necessary actions, whatever those may be for you right now, and taking it one day at a time, one step at a time, one baby step at a time. And that's what's going to get you to where you want to be. So you don't even have to stress about that right now, because you're doing everything that you can right now, that you have control over right now, because you don't have control over when things are going to happen and when your body's going to, balance out, and when your hormones are going to balance out, when your period's going to come back, when your hunger and satiety is going to balance out, when the exhaustion and fatigue is going to ease, when all of these things are going to happen. You just have to trust and continue to follow your body one day at a time. Amongst all the other things that can help with this, that's my biggest suggestion for you today. I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that it resonates with you and you can implement this into your recovery too. I know that it helped me a lot in my recovery, so I thought that I would share, and I hope that it helps someone. So if you want more like suggestions like these for your recovery, more tips and tools, if you're feeling stuck in your recovery, that's why I made my Break Free from Quasi Recovery course, Find Your Balance. And that has a lot of other tips and tools that I used in my recovery and what I've found time and time again with the clients that I've worked with, what seems to keep people stuck, and then what helps them get unstuck. If you're interested in that, go to damnthediets.com, go to work with me, and under services, you'll find out more information about that. With that said, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.